Elementary music teacher friend, you love what you do, but you might feel unappreciated and, in fact, unseen some days. You may even feel like you're on a music teacher island and just want to connect with other music teachers who can relate to both your struggles and wins when it comes to teaching elementary music. I get you and understand completely the feelings you're having. That's why each and every week, the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast will provide you with solo and guest episodes that will help you realize you're not alone in your music teaching journey. Throughout each episode, my goal is for you to be able to walk away with actionable steps and ideas to help you feel like you're ready to take on the new week with whatever challenges may be thrown your way. Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Peresta, and I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're at home, in your car, in the shower, or wherever else you're listening, grab your cup of coffee or whatever other beverage is nearby and listen in to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast.
I'm William Andreessen, host of Speaking with Students, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows in the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hey music teacher friend, I want to let you know about a free guide called 5 Steps to Simplifying Your Lesson Planning. We know as an elementary music teacher how stressful it can be planning lessons every single week for all the grade levels you teach that need to meet the state or national standards, that will reach different learning styles, and that are also fun and engaging for your students. If you've had thoughts like, am I doing this whole lesson planning thing right? Then check out this guide. It will help you with lesson planning with ease. So simply head to subscribe.thedomesticmusician.com/simplifying lesson planning or check out the link in the show notes. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I am joined today by Melody Jenkins, and she is going to introduce herself and let you know more about her. And after she does that, I would love to tell you how I connected with her and found out about her. So, Melody, welcome to the podcast. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to everybody.
Thanks, Jessica. Hey, I'm Melody, and I am an elementary music teacher. I'm currently in my 3rd year of teaching. I absolutely love it. I teach kindergarten through 5th grade general music. I originally thought I wanted to be a band director, but really fell in love with elementary during my student teaching. And you may have seen me on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube as the chromatic music teacher, probably making a cover of a song using boom whackers or sharing funny things that my students say in class.
Yes, and that was what I was going to say is, I told you that before we hit record is kind of how I found out about you is you're kind of everywhere with these awesome videos you create. I actually was sitting down one night showing my boys, I have 3 sons, and I was showing them one of your videos. And they're just like, how does she do it that fast? They thought you were literally playing the boom whackers that fast. And I said, guys,
right.
But they were just like, oh my gosh, she's so fast. It's so funny. So do you kiddos love watching these videos along with adults? Do your students come to school and like, oh my gosh, Miss Jenkins, I saw your latest video?
They do. Yeah. Sometimes it was felt a little strange when that first started happening. I kind of anticipated it with maybe my 5th graders once I started to gain more of a following on TikTok, but I was getting, kindergartners and 1st graders like, hey, I saw, this cover of this song, or they'll point out a specific video, and sometimes they'll watch with, with parents, and I think some of them do have their own accounts, and I'm like, okay, but they love to point out specific ones, and they'll say, oh, that's my favorite song. And sometimes they will request a song that they want to see me play, and it's really fun.
Oh, that is so fun. And what a great way to connect with your students. I've had a lot of conversations on this podcast about forming relationships with students, and it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be difficult. And yes, you see every child in the school, but just little things like that, opening doors where, you're not on TikTok to connect with your students, but it just naturally happened where that was a connection point. And not just TikTok, but also look, I'm making music and look at all these people I'm inspiring over here because of music. And what a natural conversation starter that's probably evolved from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just, it's also a really good way for me to, even just watching TikToks, feeling connected with what my students are watching, especially the older ones. Sometimes it can be, like fifth grade can be a little bit tricky to lesson plan for, because sometimes they get at the age where, things are not cool anymore. And so I'm able to see things that are trending on TikTok, like the It's Corn song at the beginning of the school year was very, very big. So I tried to incorporate that, when I could, and the kids, they love it. And now I would say that's like Flowers by Miley Cyrus. My fifth grade girls are very into that. And having a presence on TikTok and being on there just really helps me to be able to figure out what they are listening to currently, and I try to implement that when I can.
Okay, so this is not in one of the questions I sent you, and I'm not trying to stump you, but when you were talking about finding the songs and the TikToks that your students, especially the older grades, really connect with, did you feel like a little hesitant in doing that? Because I know, anyways, for me, my music education program in college, it was just very blanket, like do this, teach these songs, and nobody ever gave me, not that I needed permission, but nobody ever really told me that you could veer off from that and bring in popular music or be a little bit more creative, especially with the older students. So with that said, did you were just like, listen, I'm doing it, I don't care? Or did you feel a little bit weird about it at first? Because I know I get this question from so many music teachers, am I allowed to do that? And I'm like, yes, go for it,
Right. I think with me, so I'm 25, and I was student teaching when everything shut down in spring of 2020. So I think for me, I've been on this sort of on both sides of kind of like the before and after, and then this like post COVID, and while everything was still very restricted, so much reliance on technology just because we had to, and we were virtual for a while and everything. And I feel like that's when it kind of started for me. And then there are people who are making really great content on YouTube that is going along with the popular songs. Like some people on YouTube that I really like are Mr. Swick's Classroom. He does boomwhacker play-alongs that are kind of Guitar Hero style musication. I believe there's another guy, Mr. Garcia, I think is his name. He does like Poison Rhythm videos, and these people who they're recognizing like, hey, this song is something that is clean, that is very popular with the kids right now, and knowing that it's a resource that a lot of teachers can use. So that's something really since the beginning of my career, I have tried to implement popular music, and especially with, like I said, the fifth graders, and just trying to make it something that they're going to enjoy, because they are getting to that point where they're preparing for middle school, and sometimes the Kodai songs are maybe not what they love anymore, but then sometimes there is one that they do love. And so I think it kind of depends on your particular group of students that you have, but just trying to teach the principles that you need to teach with the standards. But what I love about music is there are a lot of ways you can teach the standards. You can teach the rhythmic concepts and the melodic concepts in a lot of different ways. And so finding the way that's the best fit for my students, that's going to be enjoyable for them, but that they are also going to be learning the content.
So many great nuggets you just put there. And I love that you said, hey, I'm 25, because I actually had this conversation with a friend last week. I completely think that those of us in our 40s can learn from the younger generation. And also I learn from the older generation, and I still learn from people my age. And so I think it's so great to see you guys in your 20s coming up, and you are hopefully inspiring teachers who have been at it for a while. Like, listen, you can do this. You can, change things up even if you've been set in your ways for a while. So not that everybody is, but there are certain teachers, we all know who they are, that they're just afraid to veer off course. And you're like, it's okay to do something else. It's okay. So thank you for sharing that. Today's conversation is about being a multi-passionate music educator. And I came up with this topic because of the fact that you're on TikTok doing your thing, but you're also in the music room. And I'm just kind of wanted to talk about a variety of things. So I want to just start off by asking you about your career as a music educator. You already shared that you thought you would be a band director, and then you became an
Mm-hmm.
elementary music teacher. So talk to us a little bit about that journey of, you said you fell in love with it when you were student teaching, but is there
Mm-hmm.
anything else you want to share along those lines of becoming a music teacher, or what your journey's been like so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So music has been a part of my life for my entire life. Both of my parents are musical, like my entire family, older siblings in band and everything, and played piano since I was 6. My mom taught me. I knew, as soon as I knew what band was, I knew I was going to be in band, but I had never considered it as a career. I actually wanted to be a doctor for a while growing up, with a brief stint as wanting to be a fashion designer. But it was my sophomore year of high school. I became drum major of my high school's marching band, and it was a small band. I was the only drum major, and I loved conducting. Was the first thing that I really fell in love with. I just loved like how it felt and being able to really convey the music, with my arms and my hands. And my band director let me lead a lot of rehearsals, and I feel like I was almost like I was doing like a practicum or something even in high school before I was considering it. And I remember specifically the week when I felt like, maybe I want to be a music teacher. I hadn't thought about it. And my high school band director and his wife were both extremely encouraging. I was helping out with the 6th grade, like try out all the instruments, beginner band night. And I stayed after I talked to them a little bit, just kind of like, hey, I think I might want to become a band director when I grow up. And like I said, they were both very, very encouraging, big mentor figures. And I still have a relationship with them today. And, they came to my wedding and they came to my senior recital. And it's just great to have had that supportive music teacher. And I think a lot of music teachers, they get started because of that band director or that choir director, that orchestra director. So like I said, I wanted to do marching band. The elementary music teacher that I had, I liked, but I don't remember a whole lot of what we did. I remember enjoying music class, but we didn't do instruments a whole lot. And so it wasn't memorable enough to me to think maybe I want to do elementary. And at that point, I didn't think I was that good with little kids. And then, like I said, throughout college, still wanted to be a band director. I was very involved with marching band and did my student teaching spring of 2020. And I had to do 8 weeks of elementary, and then I was doing 8 weeks at a combined middle and high school in band. And I'm very grateful the elementary was first, because it was 1 week away from being affected by COVID, but it wasn't. So I started in the middle of January and ended the first week of March at that placement. Wow. And I was apprehensive before I started that placement, because I just felt like, I was like, what do I do with elementary? This is going to be scary, but I fell in love with it immediately. And just seeing how excited the students were and how much just fun you get to have with them. And then I started considering it more. And when I graduated looking for jobs, I was applying for, anything. I applied for high school, applied for middle school, applied for elementary, had some interviews that didn't work out. And then my position that I'm at now actually opened up mid-year. The previous teacher had been there for a while. She took another job within the district, not teaching music anymore. So it was a mid-year opening. I interviewed and I got it, and it's been a really great fit. I've absolutely loved it. And then this year especially, I feel like I've really been able to kind of hit my stride, because we haven't had any COVID restrictions this year. So this is my first year with programs. The past 2 years I was limited in that. So I tried to do some videos and things, but this year being able to really go full force and start kind of making the elementary music program at my school my own has been really, really great. And then I've had my students for 3 years now. And so seeing the growth from my first group of kindergarteners, they're in 2nd grade now, and seeing how much they've grown up. And I have a really, really awesome group of 5th graders right now who they do a lot of music stuff outside of school, just a very musical grade, and seeing them get big roles in local community theater and taking piano lessons and going to big competitions. And it's just really rewarding to see that. And the fact that I do, I'm not at the point where I've had any students for 6 years yet, but that I will get to that point, where I've had my first kindergarten group grow all the way up, and it's just very rewarding. And there's so much fun and variety every day, and my students are so sweet, and I have great colleagues, and so I love elementary.
Oh, yay. I'm so glad. Your story actually mirrors mine a lot. I was nodding a lot. I know people can't see this because I haven't gotten to the point where I turned my podcast into a video, which I've been asked to, but I haven't. But anyways, I was a band nerd all the way through. Clarinet, section leader, played clarinet through college, also piano, and all the way probably until I would say senior year, right before I student taught, I started considering elementary. I'd worked with some kiddos in my community, but same. I did elementary first. I was like, oh my gosh, this is not what I thought it would be. Okay, I'm digging this. And then I did same middle school, high school combined. Yeah. It's a really tiny school, which I liked because I got to do both because it was very small. But I helped out because I did my student teaching in the fall. I was able to help out with marching band. And then same thing, one position opened in the middle of the school year. I was going to substitute teaching. It was elementary. And I was like, so I always say, if you can start teaching in the middle of school year, you can do anything because you're literally starting from the beginning, but they're not in the beginning. So you're trying to figure out that dynamic.
Right.
It's really interesting. You're like, I don't know what and I don't have a lot of time to do pre-assessment, but you're in the middle of school year and you guys are not wanting to like go over procedures. You've been there, done that. So it was like this, yeah. So you doing that during COVID, for that matter.
My school at that point was completely virtual. So I got the job. I was hired in November of 2020. And it was very strange because I would go to school and for specials, we were doing asynchronous. So I would create, the lessons and everything, but it was very strange to go there and then, not be actually teaching. I didn't actually get to meet my students in person until January of that school year. We went back, but it was a strange schedule. We had half the students would come on Mondays and Tuesdays, half would come on Thursdays and Fridays, but like each like say you've got this fourth grade teacher always had music on Monday. I would only ever see the Monday, Tuesday kids. I never saw the Thursday, Friday kids. So it was very hard we only did that for a few weeks. So it wasn't too bad before everybody came back. But I was also teaching on a CART that year. We had to turn our library and gym into classrooms that could be, 6 feet social distancing. And so the librarian, PE teacher, and then myself, we were all in my room as an office, like storage space. So it was very strange, but both the librarian and PE teacher have been there for a while, and they were really helpful just in kind of letting me know the lay of the land of just kind of how the school works and like that kind of inside information that it would take a little while to figure out. They were helpful in just kind of getting me acclimated to everything and having somebody to talk to when I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on and how does this work. And so while it would have been more ideal to get to be in my classroom, I got to do that the following year. So it was an interesting beginning. I wouldn't want to go back to that, but I did learn a lot from it.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to talk about you being a multi-passionate music educator, which you've already you coming through the speakers, you can tell you're just super passionate about what you do. And so part of your passion, which you've already mentioned, is TikTok. And so I want to talk to you about your reasons for starting on TikTok. And then also the next question, which can be, the same answer, is why did you decide to record Boomwhacker videos?
So I knew, I've been on Instagram and TikTok for a while, and I always knew that I wanted to have like a teacher account and everything. So TikTok was one that I made a video and a new account, like my first day that I was going to work, and I was going to work virtually, but it was strange. But the first few months I didn't really post much at all. I didn't have very many followers. I didn't try very much. And it was also hard because I was teaching virtually, and I just naturally teaching inspires me to make videos. And so as we got into the spring, I was starting to make a few more videos, did some about some different instruments, and I did some, my outfits of the week and things like that. Still didn't have very much of a following, but I remember I was staying after school the day I made the first Boomwhacker video. I had something to attend later in the evening, but there wasn't really enough time to go home. So I was just trying to, kill some time. And I had already hung the boom whackers in the, the array that you see behind me in my videos.
Yeah.
I had hung them up in that shared classroom, because that's when it was with the librarian and PE teacher. I wanted just some color in my little, corner of the room. And I had done an observation with a teacher who had used Velcro to hang up her boom whackers. So I decided to do the same. And in the few videos I had posted, people would comment like, oh, what are the rainbow tubes behind you? Or sometimes people would say, I remember those from Mrs. So-and-so's music class in third grade. And I decided to do Happy Birthday as the first song. I was just like, oh, I could make a song out of the boom whackers.
Yeah.
Recorded it in TikTok, just a bunch of like really short clips. And then, I manually chopped each note down to approximately where it needed to be. It was not very rhythmically precise, but it worked. Posted that video later that night. And then when I woke up in the morning, it had 100,000 views. And I was like, whoa, okay.
Wow.
So I tons of comments. Since it was Happy Birthday, a lot of people said, oh my gosh, it's my birthday, or tagged a friend whose birthday it was. And then more of I remember playing with these in music class in elementary school. And it seemed like it was very nostalgic for a lot of people, so then I figured out, hey, this could be kind of my thing. Cause I know most people on TikTok generally have their thing that they do. And I had no idea what that was going to be for me, because I wanted to do something that nobody else had really done before. And it's not that no one has done boom whackers. There's like Harvard Thud. I played with them last spring, and they're awesome, but like their style is very different than what I do, because it's just me. So of course I have to edit. And so I figured out, I only edited like, I think 2 videos in TikTok with the boom whackers, and it's like, this is not going to work. So I'm familiar with Final Cut Pro. I had done a lot of video editing during lockdown in spring of 2020. So figured out kind of my system, and it's evolved a lot along the way. It's become a lot easier. I was figuring at first I was, if I needed to play a G like 6 times in a song, I would actually play it 6 times. And I figured out I don't need to do that. I just need to play it once.
Yeah.
Making it a lot more efficient along the way. And then it evolved to at first I wasn't smiling, and people were like, oh, you look so mad. And then, but if I smile, they're like, oh, you look scary, or, whatever. And so then it evolved into changing my shoes, and then, changing my watch band and stuff. And so it's been fun to just learn and experiment and figure out what works. And then I look back at my old videos, and sometimes I'm like, this is not a product I would put out now. It's just fun to see the growth, and just following. Sometimes I follow kind of the trends of what's going on TikTok. If I do that, you have to jump on pretty fast, because TikTok does cycle through the trends rather quickly. And then sometimes it's just figuring out like songs that just work well on boom whackers. Some just lend themselves, anything with a lot of whole notes is not going to work, just because there's no sustain on boom whackers.
Right.
So it's generally going to be something a little quicker. 8th notes, 16th notes, fast is great. And then it also seems really impressive when really the editing is not really any harder.
Yeah.
And then it's fun. There's some songs that I've never heard before that I get a lot of requests for. Mostly I don't play a lot of video games, so people request these video game songs that I look them up, and they've got millions of views on YouTube, so they are popular. It's just something that I'm not into, and then I do them, and then they're really successful and attract a big fan base from whatever community that game has. And so it's just been interesting. Some songs I would have never expected to cover, but it's been really fun. And then just seeing like how I can make certain songs work for the boom whackers, and trying to cut them in a place where it's not going to be too long, because the attention span on TikTok isn't great. I feel like 15 to 30 seconds is kind of ideal for me. Finding a good place that it can loop so that people will stay. And so it's been really fun just to figure it out along the way.
Yeah. So do you feel that having this TikTok presence and being able to use these creative skills of yours is something that definitely is we talk about self-care a lot, but for me, the way I view self-care is something that I love to do. Like I love to work. I love to create. I love,
Mhm.
like I'll play piano for fun or whatever. So is this for you just something that's like something for yourself, but also you're sharing with others that's outside of teaching when we're talking about having other passions besides just teaching as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I have always, since I was little, I've loved making videos. If I had had like an iPod Touch when I was 10, like goodness knows what kind of things I would have been like
Yeah.
making. Because I'm right at that age where I'm a little bit too old to have really had, good easy video editing access until I was in like
Mm.
college. But I did have a digital camcorder. Middle school, my friends would come over for a sleepover and we'd always make some kind of a movie or something. And so I have always loved making videos. And then now it's fun just to get to make videos and have an audience and be able to impact people and also make money from it too. Like that's
Yeah.
that's something that I would have never expected. I would see these influencers and stuff and would never think that that would be me. But then it's like, oh, here we are, and it's really fun, and I do enjoy making the videos. Life has just been a lot busier for me lately, so the frequency of Boomwhacker videos has been a little bit lower than it has at other times. But I'm hoping to be able to pick
Hmm.
back up on that. And yeah, because I love it's so satisfying to get the idea and then see the finished product and see how it sounds and how it looks and everything, and just seeing that final product.
Hmm. So a teacher listening to this and they are also passionate about, let's say, video or just want to share more about what they're doing in their classroom, but they're not sure how to get started, or they're not really, like you said, finding that thing, and they're just like, well, everybody else is already sharing whatever out there. Like you said, there's a lot of
Mhm.
people sharing Boomwhacker, but you found what works and what
Mhm.
sets you apart. So a teacher thinking, oh, I don't have anything to share, or what sets me apart, how would you encourage them to find that, and then also to just kind of take that first step in sharing?
Yeah, like I said, I watched TikTok before I made them. I think watching TikTok a good bit, not too much or anything, which is easy
Mm,
to do. But
yes.
watching is a really good way to just kind of get a jumping off point. Like the trends are a great way, a trending audio, and
Hmm.
then you have kind of a format that you follow, maybe with the text overlay or a filter or the way that you record it. Starting off with just something like that and seeing if it sticks. Like I said, I posted some just random things at the beginning. Some things were not sticking, some kind of were. The boomwhackers were the things that were like stuck like super glue. And so just trying different things. Hardly anyone is going to start out with this like perfectly manicured channel
Mm.
where you have a consistent thing that you're always doing, and it's like, just be yourself,
Mhm.
share, and sometimes you just have to post. That's the thing. Sometimes you have to post a lot, and I have videos, still that don't do super well. I have some that do, and you can't get discouraged by one video like not
Yeah.
doing well, and you kind of have to keep going and build a community. Like the teacher TikTok community is very supportive. Lots of mutual friends, and people will comment on each other's videos and things like that. And so just trying to follow other teachers and build that community and at least get maybe a that kind of consistent audience from them. But yeah, just kind of sometimes you just have to kind of throw the content out there and just see what sticks, like I said.
Do you feel like your students have been more excited about using the boomwhackers or instruments for that matter, and learning the popular songs we talked about earlier? Do you kind of transfer some of the stuff you're doing on TikTok to your classroom and say, "Oh my gosh, my students would love to learn this song as well"?
Yeah, sometimes a little bit, like I said, just with what is popular. And I think for them, I think the kind of like novelty of like, oh, my teacher has a lot of followers on TikTok. I think for a lot of them it's kind of worn off, which I like, because I don't want it to be a distraction. um
Mm,
so it's like it does impact what I'm teaching, like I said, and finding the popular stuff, and maybe I cover a song that they really like, but generally I am able to keep it separate for the most part, influencing it in, I guess, like maybe more subtle ways versus the super direct ways. And I do still show them things like when I played with Harvard Thud,
Mhm.
I showed them those videos and things like that. But I think maybe early on when I first was gaining a following, I think maybe I did that a little bit too much. Like, oh, look at this video that I did. And I think I've moved away from that a little bit more. And I think I like that better a little bit actually. But they, like I said, they do still come to me and say like, hey, Miss Jenkins, I saw, this video or that video
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there anything you haven't shared in this episode that you think another teacher just needs to hear or be inspired by that you could share with them?
I think just circling back to like what we were talking about earlier of just not being afraid to kind of try new things. And I think students you're always going to have a few students who just are hesitant in music, and they may have a variety of reasons for why they're hesitant. They may feel like maybe that they can't sing or can't play an instrument or whatever, and just finding ways to be able to encourage those students and connect with them. Like last year I had a harder group of fifth graders, and trying to connect with them was tricky, but figuring out the things that they like, and part of that was just sometimes sitting down and like, hey guys, who are you listening to?
Mhm.
And some of the artists I couldn't really tie into elementary music class, but
Yes.
I tried to do what I could with the people that they liked to listen to. And so that's just encouraging people to, I guess it's so easy when we're doing our lesson plans for things to be so teacher driven,
Hmm.
and maybe to just be more open to student driven. And when they have ideas, like if a student's telling me like, hey, I really like this song, even if it's just as simple as sometimes there's not an activity maybe to do with it, but we've got a couple minutes at the end of class, the student has wanted me to play this song. I vet it beforehand, of course, but I can play the song, and it makes them really happy. And just, I think that connection and showing that what they care about, what they like, and what they listen to matters to you, and not just like saying that it does, but actually showing them that their opinions matter.
Hmm.
It means a lot, and that really helps build that relationship with the students, especially because you are going to have them for 6 years if you have them from kindergarten all the way through fifth grade.
Oh my gosh. I love that you said that because it is so true. It goes back to what we talked about at the beginning with relationship building. It doesn't have to take a long time. It doesn't have to cut into
Mhm.
your lesson plans a lot. You said a couple minutes at the end of class. That's sometimes all it takes and you don't have to
Mhm.
do it for every child, but like you said, there's a student asking you to play a song, and then the next time it can be another child, or, hey, I've been wanting
Mhm.
to tell you this story, or I drew this picture. Can I show you? And there's always just these random moments that will pop up. And when you just leave some open space to listen and, like you said, to see and validate your students, it goes so far because maybe there is this hard to reach student. And it's
Mhm.
not like that one moment will magically change everything overnight sometimes, but it's like planting a seed. And they're like, okay, Miss
Right.
Jenkins cares. So next time maybe
Mhm.
they show up, maybe they've been showing up 1% for you. So maybe the next time it's like 5 to 10, right?
Right. And I have one of my kindergarten classes this year. I don't even know how exactly this started, but it's become like kind of the first few minutes of class. Several students will always say, I have a song, and they just want to come up to the front and sing. And I don't know what it's going to be. Sometimes it's a real song. Like I have one little boy that sings the Wellerman every time,
Aw.
but he loves it. And then I have some girls that it is always a long improv, usually involving like pointing out all the other students' names in the class. And
That's so funny.
um, and then sometimes they'll just say, like, they'll have a hand raised. They're just like, I have a question. Like, can I come give you a hug? And they're so sweet. And just, I never want to, so many people have an experience in their life that maybe they don't feel like they are good enough to sing or good enough to dance or
Mm.
to act or to play an instrument. And I don't want to ever suppress that, because while they're 5, 6 years old in kindergarten and they want to get up in front of their class and perform, and the class is very largely supportive, like they sit and they listen, even if it is this long drawn out improvisation. It's just really sweet to, I hope that the kids, like from that class in particular, like I said, they just kind of started it. I didn't say, does anybody want to, you can't open up the floor to say, does anybody want to sing a song? But I hope that continues for them, and that they, know that they are talented and that people want to listen to them. And it gets a little bit harder when I had an example today with first grade. I had a few students who claimed that they knew how to play a song on the piano, and I had to try to really figure out if they actually knew how to play a song on the piano. And the answer was no, because I know that if you let one in that case, then everybody and then the whole class is gone. And I told them, I said, guys, I've had classes where we've done that. And, because if you're playing, you want to have an audience, but then that means that you have to listen for everybody else. And last year, they really didn't like it. It didn't go well. But I do have older students who take piano lessons, and they ask me like, hey, I'm playing this for my recital in a couple weeks. Can I play it for the class? And they're very supportive of each other. So I do try to foster that environment. And this year I see my students almost twice as much as I did last year. I see them 3 times every 2 weeks for 50 minutes each time. So I have more time to be able to, allow that, whatever they're coming up with, almost that like show and tell. And I think it's been really cool just to see what they do. One boy always wants to play the 20th Century Fox theme on the drum, and it's like, all right, here we go. So it's fun.
Yeah. I can just hear you're just excited about what you do. And I know the creativity that even you bring on TikTok. I can just imagine how fun your music class is. And so you gave the example of your elementary music teacher. It wasn't very memorable. I had that same experience. I think I talked about it on the podcast before, even how she was one that would walk around with one of those bells that, you hit in your hand. And that's all I remember from that class. And that's like, wow, why? And so it's kind of like, you learn from those teachers of what to do right. Like you said, your band director, same. It was like, they're so incredible. And it made me want to be a better teacher. But then I would remember my music teacher wasn't very memorable. And it wasn't the kids that I want them to remember me, but I wanted them to remember an experience from the elementary music classroom. Or like you said, to develop that love for music instead of saying, I can't do this or I'm not talented enough, but to just know that, yeah, you can. And I'm going to encourage that. So I love that you're creating that environment. Melody, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I would love for you to let everybody know where they can connect with you after they listen in.
Yeah, I am the chromatic music teacher on everything. So chromatic, like a chromatic scale. TikTok's kind of my primary platform, but I'm also on Instagram and on YouTube. And then I have a website, thechromaticmusicteacher.com, where you can just find kind of like Amazon storefront links and things like that. But if you're just going to pick one, TikTok is the one to pick.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I've loved having you.
Thank you.
Well, hey there. Thank you so much for listening into the Elementary Music Teacher podcast. There is an exclusive Facebook group just for listeners of this podcast and any elementary music teacher called the Elementary Music Teacher Community Facebook group. Come on over and join us there, where we have conversations around the podcast episodes and encourage each other each and every week. And also head to my website, thedomesticmusician.com. I have some free resources there that you can download to help you gain traction in your classroom today, as well as the blog and the membership site and all kinds of other goodies to help you keep going in your music teaching journey. I cannot wait to keep connecting with you and encouraging you and spurring you on in your journey of teaching elementary music. Hang in there, have an amazing week, and I will see you soon.